Zaldrizes Buzdaris goes down.
Hey, welcome to Sir Hunt's Reviews. In this video, usually I did a live stream on this, or I have been doing one, but they tend to get demonetized. So this is a video format. I'm going to break down all of the images from the House of the Dragon Episode 9 teaser. Please, if you enjoy my content, consider checking out my Patreon. Over on patreon.com/SirHuntReviews. Over there, I have an exclusive podcast that I release only on that platform, and you can join for as little as $1 for right now. There's only a few slots left in that $1 tier. But all that's besides the point. So please, if you enjoy my content here and you can't join over there, all you got to do over here is watch, slap a like, and subscribe if you enjoy my stuff. Obviously, you don't have to do any of that if you, well, you hate me. So yeah, let's jump into it. My hair is messed up. Ixos daor. Okay, so in this first image from the teaser for episode 9, we get a shot of the Iron Throne. This is likely right before the Green Council gets called. They're going to do some sweeping shots to open up and sort of set the scene, right, for the Green Council to take place. Then the next image that we have is the Green Council. This right here, and we'll see some images coming up. But basically, Criston Cole and Alicent and Sir Otto are now announcing we're going to crown King Aegon. You can look in the background and tell this is early in the morning. This is right after Viserys dies from that last episode. We're all sort of still crying from that, right? This is going to show you why Alicent in the Greens are, when you read the books, the villains, right? But she's already kind of been humanized, right? She got abused her whole life. Debate me down below in the comment section, because I thought that was just, everybody understood that. I was just explaining it because I was like, okay, this makes sense to me now. Like, we've had, a history of violence. Like, okay, so you could argue that picking your nails is anxiety, but anxiety for what? What the fuck are you scared of? You're probably scared of getting beat and hit by your father, which is like, that's something that they didn't necessarily need to show on the TV show, but it's hinted at. Obviously, I could be completely wrong, but like, literally, Alicent has slapped Aegon like 6 times. So the violence comes all the way down from probably Sir Otto's father, who abused Hobart and Sir Otto, and then Hobart was abused by Sir Otto, and Sir Otto abused his daughter Alicent, right? It probably got worse after her mother died, which at the start of this series is pretty close to happening. Like, Sir Otto mentions to Viserys, like, hey, when my wife died just a few years ago, it was hard for me to, move on and carry on kind of thing. So, in my opinion, the Greens are way more complex and way more humanized in the TV show, and I think it all happens with that cycle and that pattern of abuse. And then the next image that we have here is Sir Criston Cole sharpening his sword, and this is likely when he's been informed that Viserys is dead. Sir Otto and Alicent are going to call the Green Council. They're going to call the members of the Small Council. It's titled the Green Council, right, because it's the Queen's party. And Sir Criston knows he's probably going to have to fight a few people. Like, he knows that his sword is going to be drawn. Then we have a shot of Alicent. She's, basically wearing that infamous green dress. This is all leading up to the actual Green Council, where Lyman Beesbury is killed, and then also Graham McTavish, the actor who's playing Sir Harold Westerling. His character dies in 113 AC in the books, but his character is going to die at the Green Council. And I'm going to show you an image here in a few minutes of that actually happening. Like, Lyman Beesbury is dead on the table. Cole draws his sword, and you can see Harold Westerling's beard, so it's obvious they're about to have a showdown, and we know how it's going to end. Cole is going to likely kill Harold Westerling, and I have a theory, because Harold Westerling, the first thing he says, one of the only things he says, because he doesn't have very many lines in the show, Graham McTavish is severely underutilized, right? But he mentions to Rhaenyra, when she gets off her dragon Syrax, she goes, he goes, not verbatim, but basically, I'm glad you came back safely, because otherwise, if you didn't, it'd be my head on a pike. Like, every time she returns to the city safely. So, in my opinion, that's foreshadowing, since he wasn't killed in 113 AC, and he's still, like, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. We saw he got checked by Cole in episode 6 And we've seen their interactions before. Like, it's very clear that he's still the Lord Commander of the King's Guard. So when Cole kills him, it's going to be crazy. Then the next image that I want to discuss, and this one's we're getting into the meat of it. This is Sir Otto having the higher lords. This is like outside the small council. The small council's already taken place. Lemon Beesbury's already died. Harold Westerling's already died. This is Sir Otto exercising his power of a king, because he is still acting hand to the king. It's kind of crazy to me, and I'm going to do a follow-up video for my episode 8 breakdown, because there were some things that I wanted to talk about. Well, one of them was, like, if your dad is that close to death, would you honestly die? Like, yes, Rhaenyra's pregnant with Visenya. Yes, she wants to be back on Dragonstone. But you just saw how deathly ill he is. Why would you hop? She does, to be fair, Rhaenyra does literally say, the next time I come back, it'll be on Dragonback. She does say, I'm going to go basically take them home and then come back. Right? And then, you know, if Viserys was still alive, they probably would have fully made amends, and maybe they would have made some sort of guaranteed betrothals, right? So they maybe would have nixed Baela Rhaena, and then maybe marry Jace and Helena. But that doesn't happen. King Viserys dies. And if Viserys hadn't gotten confused and told Alicent that Aegon is the one to unite the Seven Kingdoms, and yes, Alicent is picking and choosing words there, but if that had happened, they would have continued on, business as usual. Rhaenyra would have been named the heir. That's how great this show is. It shows you, like, just like real life history, it's so close to changing everything. Like, everything just has to fall into a certain line to lead up to the events that start the war. Like in real English history, there's several things that are like that, right? So in this TV show, they're basically making it seem like the dance was started by hatred, yes, and like fueled from 20 years of Rhaenyra and Alicent bickering back and forth, but ultimately they had sort of settled it. Human error is what starts the war. Alicent being a genuine, loving, caring wife sitting by her husband's bedside, and then he goes senile and thinks she's Rhaenyra, and he, you know, answers a question from several hours ago. So that, in my opinion, is muy delicioso, perfecto. It's the best kind of cinnamon. Then we get a shot of this dude, who, in my opinion, is, I have no freaking clue, but basically they're just showing you these are the lords of Westeros accepting Sir Otto's decision to name King Aegon the heir. And Aegon is this raging alcoholic rapist, right? We get another shot of Sir Otto. Right now, I see you have the determination to win it. That was a weak Otto impression. I can do a better one. Then we got a shot of our boy Aemond. And look, this is really important because in the foreground, as you can see right here, that is Aegon wearing the crown. Aegon is wearing the Conqueror's crown for his namesake. Aegon II has just been crowned. And look at the way that Aemond is looking at him. Now, Aemond respects love, duty, tradition, and all that stuff, but his brother is a butthole. Aemond does not respect his brother. He loves his brother in the sense that, like, yeah, he has to love him because he's his family. But ultimately, their relationship is very much like, kind of just, we get a few lines about it in Fire and Blood. So we see that there's so many layers of complexity added. Like, Aegon is literally running away from the crown. It's not just that he didn't want it. It's like, we're going to see in this, when I get to the images here in a second. But literally, he's fleeing the crown. He does not want this. And Aemond takes note of that. And when Aegon is injured, right, in the battle above Rook's Rest, when Rhaenys brutally maims Sunfire, rips the wing off, and then, you know, Vhagar and Aemond are unharmed, but Aegon II is wiped out for a year. He sleeps 9 out of every 10 hours. It turns him even into more of a pervert, but basically, during that time, Aemond wears the crown, and this shot is like foreshadowing. It's kind of like he feels as though he is the one to, you know, wear the crown, because he's much more serious with his duties. Like the conversation they have when they're kids, when they're played by Ty Tennant and Leo Ashton. He says, like, Aemond says, I would do my duty. I would marry Helena. I would produce multiple heirs because that's what we're supposed to do. It would strengthen our bond, strengthen our family. And then Aegon makes a joke and says, you know, we do have something in common. We both like long legs. And then he runs off to go chase after the handmaiden. So, literally, this show is building up their relationship into something amazing. And technically, when Aemond wears the Conqueror's crown and is all but king in name, he never names himself, King Aemond, right? He still respects his brother. He just takes on the moniker of protector of the realm. He never full-on usurps his brother. And really, he doesn't even usurp his brother at all, because it's because Aegon is injured and why Aemond has to wear the crown. So it's really, really cool to see the relationship this early. And then one of the next images, this is my favorite one. This is a shot, well, not my favorite of this, but there's a shot at King's Landing, and there's like a little bird right there, and then another little bird right there, and I wonder if those aren't dragons, because technically, this should be, get ready, the first time we see Sunfire, the freaking golden, up close. I can't wait. This is Aegon's dragon. And when Aegon is crowned in the dragon pit, we see thousands of people rushing into the dragon pit. I did see some comments when I posted screen grabs from on my Instagram and on my Twitter. People were saying, holy shit, the storming of the dragon pit is happening now. No, this is when Aegon gets crowned. It's the juxtaposition of the Green Council and the crowning of Aegon. He has 40,000 people watching him in the dragon pit. He has Blackfire with him, and he's wearing Aegon the Conqueror's crown. And Sunfire the Golden just flew around the city. That's all beautiful imagery, and the complete opposite of what's going to happen with the Black Council. And the Black Queen is the name of episode 10. This next episode 9 is named the Green Council. Episode 10 is called the Black Queen, at least from the leaked episodes that have been leaked episode titles that have been right so far. But it's just going to be so much more of a somber event for Rhaenyra, and we see it looks as though towards the end of episode 9, Eric Cargill will present the crown of her father and let her know her father's dead. So episode 10 will likely open with the Black Council, and Aemond will already be in Storm's Inn at this point, and Lucerys will be, sent down there. And then I'm kind of skipping around a bit, but this is interesting. This is worth talking. This is Sir Otto Hightower and Elliot Tittenzor, a.k.a. Eric Cargill, and he's being sent to retrieve the king. And when this is playing in the trailer, Sir Otto's saying this is of the most dire secretness. Don't let anybody know what you're doing, right? So he's going to go get the king, who is at a pit, at a brothel, where it looks like two children are fighting at each other, and I'm going to get to that here in a second. But then this next image, this is Rhaenys, and she's actually being locked in her room. So I mentioned this on the thing I did for my Patreon last night, which is like a reaction to the actual trailer, including the audio from the trailer. I can't upload that kind of content here to YouTube, but you can join my Patreon for $1 and go watch it, right? It's like 23 minutes long. But besides the point, Rhaenys may potentially still be in King's Landing, which is not in canon. They may just be adding an extra layer of intenseness to the episode by having Rhaenys still trapped in King's Landing, and she has to sort of make her way out through the tunnels underneath and then, make her way eventually to her dragon, Meleys. But I could be wrong, and this could actually be on Driftmark, and maybe potentially the Silent Five have seized power because Corlys is still sick, and they're, again, adding something that isn't necessarily in the books, but just, sort of making us realize that Rhaenys' decision to name, to keep Lucerys as the Lord of the Tides, and, the next in line for Driftmark is going to backfire on her a little bit, because there's not just Vaemond Velaryon, who's Corlys' little brother, but there's also Velaryon cousins. So that's going to be interesting, and I think that's what this scene is sort of hinting at. Maybe those Velaryon cousins have locked Rhaenys in Driftmark with Corlys, perhaps. Then this next image is... This is Mysaria's servant being ushered into a jail, and it looks like the Greens usher all of the people who are loyal to the Blacks into a prison cell. So this includes all of Rhaenyra's handmaidens. This includes someone who works for Mysaria. Maybe her secret is found out. So what's interesting is that when you look... And I will have to do something. I'm going to try to figure out how I can pull it up. All right, so when you look at the moon tea, okay, so basically the moon tea that servant brings Diana is not the same moon tea that was given to Rhaenyra. So the moon tea that is given to Rhaenyra is this clear liquid, and the moon tea that's given to Diana may actually have poison in it. Like Helena mentions, where's Diana? We haven't seen her, but she was also given a sack of gold. So maybe with the other bastards that we see in this, maybe she's working with Mysaria to actually have these women carry Aegon's bastards to actually have them. So he's got all these bastard children running around, which would delegitimize his claim potentially. It's hard to tell what's going on. Then we have this really funny screenshot of Alicent, and this is at the Green Council. This is right before Kristen Cole kills Lyman Beesbury or potential Harold Westerling, which I know he's going to kill him. And then we get a shot of the woman, I believe. Or no, this is Aegon 2 and Elliot Tittenzor. And Sir Eric Cargill, and they're making their way from... You know what? Now that I'm watching this in post, I can actually see it better. I think Rhaenys is in King's Landing, is trapped, and when one of the Cargill brothers takes Rhaenyra her crown, they're actually going to sneak out Rhaenys as well. This scene could be Rhaenys being led through the streets by Eric Cargill to go and take Rhaenyra her crown and deliver the news that her father has died. Although I could be wrong again. We have this other image, and I can't really tell you what's happening here because it was so blurry, but a statue fell. It looked as though a statue fell, so maybe some rioting in the streets of King's Landing is added into the TV show to show you that the citizens of King's Landing were more so on Rhaenyra's side, right? Then we have a shot of Larry's, and he's saying, I have some dire news I must tell you, and he's talking to Alicent, and it's all in regards to Aegon's bastards. So we saw, potentially Game and Palehair in this teaser as well right here. So that's all related to the moon tea being delivered by a servant of Mysaria and not actually doing its job, and these women are having Aegon's bastards, and you can tell they're his by their hair. And then we have this is the shot that I've been talking about. This is Kristen Cole and Harold Westerling, and you can see right down there in the left-hand corner, that is where Lyman Beesbury has just had his throat slit, and his head is laying slumped over on the table. Then we have Maester Orwyle over there looking shocked at what's happening. Then we have Cole and Harold Westerling. Cole's sword is at Harold Westerling's neck, but it looks like Harold Westerling is doing the same. So this is going to be a pretty awesome fight. The two of them have sort of been scoring up all season, so this will be really fun to watch. And then we have a shot of Aemond. This looks as though he sees Aegon too, because Aegon too was wearing that cloak when he was being pulled through the streets of King's Landing. So it looks like Aemond is running into Aegon too when he's coming back from that fighting pit, or maybe this is Rhaenys sneaking out and Aemond lets her go past or something. It's hard to tell. Aemond actually may be making his way to the dragon pit. Or no, just making his way to Vhagar. Vhagar's too big for the Dragon Pit, so Aemond could be making his way down to Storm's End. This could be after the Green Council's already happened, because usually Aemond starts his mornings by training in the courtyard, right? But wait, let me pause right there. Aemond does start his morning in the courtyard, but more importantly, now that I've figured out that the Rhaenys is probably being snuck out with one of the Cargill twins to go and, escape to the Black Council, because she's in that shot in her battle armor, right? It's going to be amazing to see her in her full glory. Rhaenyra ends up, when she takes King's Landing, donning a plate of gleaming armor as well. So it's going to be amazing to see these dragon queens on armor on dragonback, right? But this could actually be a showdown between Eric Cargill and Aemond, and maybe Aemond tries to stop him from sneaking out Rhaenys. We saw him in the last episode with Cole. That's where he's found when Viserys is dead and when the Green Council announces Aegon as king. So Helena is in bed, and they think Aegon too is there, but she's like, certainly he's not in my bed. You can check under the covers if you want to, with her funny little personality. And then Aemond is fighting, and he's like, surely, are we going to have to kiss the old horse Cunny, or are we going to crown my brother Aegon, right? And then Aegon too is found in a rat's pit with two gutter snipes, so two orphaned children are fighting each other, and while they're fighting each other, Aegon too is being sucked off by someone who's potentially underage. So this is what's all happening with Elliot Tittenzor and Eric Cargill being sent to go and retrieve Aegon, and this is right before Lyman Beesbury dies. It looks like he says, "You mean our queen?" So in the books, when Alicent and Sir Otto and Cole say we're gonna crown Aegon in the Dragon Pit, all the laws of Westeros say that the crown must pass to the king's firstborn son. And Lyman Beesbury says, "You mean our queen?" And he basically says, I may be old and I may be senile, or I may be old and I don't have a lot of power, but I will certainly not be part of this treason. And he goes to stand up to walk away, and that's when Kristen Cole sits him down and slits his throat. So this is an image right before then. Then we have the image of Eric Cargill and Eric looking at Aegon II fighting in the Dragon Pit. Now, what's interesting is that this conversation that the two of them had was not in the books prior to the duel, but there was an audition reel that leaked online that had two British actors who were twins who were auditioning for the role of Eric and Arik. And in that conversation, they talk about which person is the better ruler. They talk about whether Rhaenyra is the rightful heir or whether Aegon is the rightful heir. And this is where the wedge in between them gets driven, right? So Eric takes Rhaenyra's crown from her father, and goes and joins the Blacks. And the conversation that the two twins have right now is going to be like, look, dude, this is who you want for your ruler? You want this guy for your ruler? This dude, Aegon the Two, who's literally watching little kids fight each other and getting off on it. This is who you want to be your ruler? And then, Eric is probably going to be like, this is our duty. He's the rightful king of Westeros. This is like laws and tradition. Like, he is who he is, but we can't, we don't get to choose who we fight for, kind of thing. So it'll be really interesting to see this conversation up close and like on screen, because like I said, that was a conversation that was leaked of a test reel that was leaked of people who are auditioning for that role. And obviously those dudes that were auditioning didn't get it, and it was given to Elliot and Luke Tittentor. And then we get a shot of the guards, House Targaryen guards running through the city announcing that King Aegon will be crowned in the Dragon Pit. Then we have Eric Cargill fighting potentially somebody. Maybe he fights with Aemon. It's just kind of hard to tell. This appears to be in the Dragon Pit where Aegon is making his way to the crowd of people after he's potentially landed with Sunfire. And then this is a solo shot of the Conqueror's crown, which is supposed to be a simple iron circlet with red rubies adorned to it. So it looks as though they're going to switch that around, and this crown is going to be Valyrian steel. And this will be the show's version of Aegon the Conqueror's crown. And if we ever get to see an Aegon show, or a show where Aegon the Conqueror is conquering Westeros, this crown is probably going to be used in. So that'd be really cool. We saw it this early, this many years before that show ever even really comes out. One of the last ones we'll talk about is this right here. This is the Dragon Pit. This is what I mentioned earlier, where I've seen a couple people commenting and saying like, dude, they're already having the storming of the Dragon Pit. No, this is symbolism for when they do have the storming of the Dragon Pit. Because right now, all of these citizens in King's Landing are walking in to watch something magnificent, which is the crowning of Aegon. Remember, 40,000 people watch him. And then when they all crowd in there, under the guise of the shepherd, they're going to go destroy the Dragon Pit. And the roof collapses down, and it becomes that ruin that we see in Game of Thrones Season 7 and Season 8. So it's going to be really, really amazing to watch these scenes when the series finally finishes. You get to see the Dragon Pit in all of its glory. You get to see the Dragon Pit falling down and being destroyed, and then you get to see what remains of it in the original Game of Thrones series. And then the last shot that I want to talk about for this video is one of Aegon, and he's running. He's wearing a green cloak, and he's literally running away from the crown. He doesn't want it. He does not want to usurp his sister, his mama, and his grandpappy. Make him do it. He just wants to get drunk and bitches, but he can't. He can't do that. They want him to be the king. So it's, they are adding in, definitely scenes that weren't necessarily in the books, but it's all to make the series better, right? So him being chased by Eric Cargill doesn't necessarily happen, but it nails that point home. Like when I'm reading Fire and Blood, I could read Aegon didn't want the crown, here's why, and then I'll remember things about his personality that were mentioned or referenced before by other characters in the books, right? I know Aegon too didn't really want the crown and was forced into position because of that. The TV show, however, is a visual medium, so they have to be creative and show us different ways as to why Aegon too didn't really want the crown, so you kind of feel more for him. He's humanized a bit, and they're literally showing us he's fleeing the crown. So, I don't know. This episode's going to be amazing. It's going to be called The Green Council and is directed by Claire Kilner and written by Sarah Hess. And then we only have one episode after that. So, episode 9 is the most famous for Game of Thrones. That's when the craziest things happen. It's usually when the death that propels the series forward for the next season happens. It's usually the most perfect episode. So, in season 1, episode 9 is when Ned Stark died, right? So, this episode's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be nuts. So please, with only one episode remaining after this, so technically 2 episodes, 2 weeks, then we have to wait all the way till 2024. But not to worry, not to fret. Your boy Sir Hunts has got you. I'm going to upload multiple times a week to keep you entertained throughout the wait for House of the Dragon Season 2 wins winner in the Jon Snow Show, or as it's known on this channel, the Long Night. I entertain you by putting out content. So if you enjoy these and you enjoy my videos, subscribe and turn your notifications on so that way you'll get an alert every single time I do drop a video to entertain you through the upcoming Long Night. And then also consider checking out my Patreon just to get a little bit of extra stuff. The content that I upload there is exclusive to Patreon only, so YouTube will never see it. Thank you for watching. A Long Night and Zeldriza Spuzdari Exos Daor.